Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for some more Star Wars Battlefront II news, and the patch notes for tomorrow's update just dropped, and there are a lot of details and changes coming that are pretty unexpected, so we'll be covering those for you here today. Be sure to leave a like if you have been enjoying the frequent uploads, as you guys are the reason this channel continues to thrive, and let's just jump into these patch notes. As was announced last week, this update will bring us the new droid appearances, the Venator and the Dreadnought as new locations in Heroes vs Villains, and the ability to spawn on command posts and capital supremacy. We already covered all of this a few days ago when it was originally announced at Gamescom, so if you missed that and need the specifics on what is coming content-wise, I will put a link on the screen, but today, we are covering all of the patch notes. All of the new information from these patch notes comes in the form of all of the buffs, nerfs, and bug fixes that will be released with tomorrow's update, with these changes affecting nearly every single hero. The most drastic change is that health on kill star cards are going away and being replaced by new cards. Again, I am not going to go through each of the 19 replacement star cards because we did that last week, and for some reason these patch notes don't give any information on the specifics of these star cards, even though Ben said the patch notes would, so we're just gonna have to wait until the patch comes out tomorrow to see which of them are actually worth using, because the numbers are what matter. The only real new information we have on that subject is that no, Bossk is not getting passive health on kill like the rest of the heroes. A lot of people were wondering after the devs repeatedly said that every single hero would be getting passive health on kill, and they really emphasized that, but unfortunately Bossk is the odd man out in this situation, which is fine considering he not only can regenerate to full at any time, but also has a star card that gives him instant regeneration in his Dioxis, and very fast regeneration at that. However, there are a ton of other hero changes coming tomorrow we do have the details on, namely a bunch of improvements to lightsaber combat. DICE have fixed an issue where blocking no longer works while quote-unquote falling from small heights. What they really mean is blocking rarely works on anything like stairs, ramps, or really any surface that isn't completely flat, and you can imagine why this is a huge issue. If this is truly fixed for good, this will be huge for the game. This bug is the sole reason for 90+% of the blocking inconsistencies in this game. Most of the time your block doesn't work and you unexpectedly take damage or die when you were clearly blocking. That was the problem, whether you knew it or not, and if they actually fix this, like I said, that will be huge and you will notice it immediately. DICE says they have also fixed the extremely annoying issue where players standing at a higher elevation than you would be able to shoot directly through your block, and yes, I realize I just opened the floodgates for 5,000 high ground references, but regardless, these changes should be a huge improvement, especially for heroes versus villains, because issues with blocking are the cause of 95% of my suffering in that game mode. If they could just make block truly consistent, hero play would be so much more enjoyable, but they've been struggling with getting that right since day one. The team over at DICE has also made a handful of hero-specific changes. Starting off with Darth Maul, his Furious Throw damage is getting a nice increase from 75 to 85. This isn't going to change much against full health troopers. It will still have to hit them twice to kill everyone but the heavy class, and against heavies you'll need his Accelerated Throw star card to get a kill with one use of the ability. Still, this will be a nice damage upgrade in general, especially against heroes. I'm pretty sure the head designer over at DICE must really love Maul, as it seems like every update he gets another buff despite already being one of the best heroes in the game. Grievous is getting an even bigger buff, as DICE has made him completely immune to all abilities during Claw Rush. This means he can no longer be pushed, detonite charged, repulsed, shoulder charged, or really anything out of Claw Rush, which is a pretty massive buff for Grievous. He will of course still take the damage, but he can't be knocked out of the ability, which is what matters. This will mean he can just rush into essentially any situation with no risk and a guaranteed knockdown on everyone who isn't blocking, and this is going to make Grievous an absolute pain for a hero like Han to deal with, as before you could just detonite charge him out of the way and really do some damage before he recovers and then finish him off, but now you're just gonna have to have godlike aim before he comes up and hits you, and you better wish he doesn't have that damage reduction card on, because his Claw Rush has a huge hitbox. We'll have to see how this change feels in-game, but this is definitely a notable upgrade for the general. Also of note when it comes to Grievous, the patch notes claim they have fixed the bug where Grievous gets stuck in the Claw Rush animation, but just based off of DICE's track record with Grievous, I will believe it when I see it. I was really hoping DICE would be fixing Thrust Surge with this update, but by the looks of it, Grievous will be stuck with his bugs for a little while longer. Obi-Wan is getting a few changes tomorrow as well, including the buff to his dodge that we discussed in a video last week. He also is getting a separate fix to his block, a problem that triggered after Defensive Rush was used, so hopefully this goes even further to making block feel like it can actually be relied upon, and I definitely have noticed that Obi-Wan's block is the one with the most problems, and this may have been the culprit. Dooku's duelist animations are also finally fixed, so Duelist will actually work properly and allow you to attack faster. I was really hoping that DICE would show Dooku more love with this patch. He is still in a very sorry state when it comes to his basic attacks. The hitbox on them is still so messed up from a few months ago, and DICE has yet to even acknowledge that. Bossk's Predator Instincts glitch has also been addressed in this update, so hopefully his thermal vision will be more consistent from here on out. It has been a problem since launch, where you just cannot rely on Predator Instincts to show you the heat signatures of any enemies, and if I'm remembering correctly, DICE has said they fixed this about 5 other times in the past, so hopefully the 6th time is the charm, and yes, I know that is as ridiculous as it sounds. Anakin's heroic might has also been changed, and this can definitely be seen as a bit of a nerf, as enemies will now be able to see the radius of heroic might as Anakin is charging. This probably won't change too much, most players don't pay attention anyways, but for those of you who do, it'll be nice to know when you're free and clear of that ability, and for the Anakin players, well, you're just gonna have to be aware that some people can see that and get out of your way. Moving on, Bossk, Grievous, and the Commando Droid have all been hit with changes to their jump. As of tomorrow, they will no longer have their floaty, force-like jump, but instead will jump at around the same height, but will return to the ground much faster. I've seen a lot of people saying this is a nerf for Bossk in particular, but I also could see this being used as an advantage. Bossk's jump has always been a little bit slow for my taste, but I'm sure it will take some getting used to regardless. As long as Grievous can still jump at around the same height, I'm sure he will be fine, and the Commando Droid's jump was always kind of weak in my opinion, and they barely need it anyways because of their dash, so I'm curious to see what they've done with it because a really nice jump for them would be amazing. DICE has also undone their changes to emotes, so from now on the audio will continue to play even after you've moved. I hated this change with a passion. I think the voice line wheel is one of the most useless things they have ever added to this game. Emotes were always so much better, and adding a second wheel was so unbelievably pointless, and now they've reverted the changes to emotes, effectively making voice lines completely obsolete, so good on DICE for reverting that mistake, I guess. DICE is also going to start allowing you to see the enemy stamina bar at all times. This is a really interesting change. It's certainly going to make lightsaber combat a bit more strategic and calculated if you can always tell just how much stamina an enemy has left, although I can definitely see this getting annoying being used against you, because if you're just trying to regain your stamina and back off, and the enemy can see that, they are not going to relent. Moving on from the hero changes, in a pretty surprising move, the announcer from Heroes vs. Villains is back. For those of you who have just now picked up the game in the past few months, the droid who announces the beginning of the Heroes vs. Villains match used to keep up with the commentary throughout the entire match, but after the target system was removed and HVV was reworked into what is essentially Hero Blast, he was more or less removed other than his intro, probably because a lot of his commentary was tied to the target being successfully eliminated. I'm not sure what he is going to say now. It's probably going to be the same quotes reused, but if he announces all 35 deaths, that is going to get really old really quick. Either way, I am happy he is back because I really did miss all of his random quips. As mentioned in yesterday's video, the milestones for both the Droideka and the TX-130 have finally been fixed, so for you completionists out there, you should be able to finish those starting tomorrow. Officer's Presence has also been hit with a nerf, no longer allowing that non-stop point gain that would just randomly happen from time to time. There have been times I've even continued to get points after I've died and I'm back on the main screen, and I am okay with really any changes to the Officer's battle point gain. The end of the patch notes do say that DICE is aware of a few issues that are tied to this update, specifically that Grievous can still occasionally be knocked out of his claw rush, and that dodging during lightsaber combat does still cause you to randomly get hit and take damage, which is a huge issue with combat at the moment. I really hope they eventually get lightsaber combat right. They have pretty much continually tweaked it all the way from launch, and while it has trended upwards generally over the past 2 years, it's still not in a good place, and right now it's definitely worse than it was a few months ago. That was probably the best it has ever been, but there were still problems then. The number one issue at this moment is the constant rubber banding, where you try to dodge during an attack and just get teleported back into an attack again and again. It is so incredibly frustrating, and I honestly wonder if it's something DICE can fix, or if it's directly tied to the Frostbite engine and they'll never be able to get it exactly right. Well guys, that is going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to leave this video a like, and if you are new around here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, if you aren't already, make sure you are following me on Twitter and Instagram. Link is in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
I'm Han Solo.